Hey, it's me, Kyle, from Books and Boards YouTube channel. I sell used board games and board game pieces on eBay with my dad and my wife. Um, Today is Monday. Well, it's the end of Monday. And so today I'm just going to kind of go over last week's sales and let you know how we did and maybe some highlight a few sales that we had. Last week, we listed 83 units and we sold 109 units. Those 109 units came out to $3,842 in sales. So it was a decent week, kind of a typical week for us. Obviously, we're trying to get that sold number up. My listing goal is 30 a day, and I'm not hitting that. And as well as how many units we're trying to sell per day, which is 30 as well. So we're well below that, but we're kind of working through some things. As I've mentioned in other videos, Amazon made some changes, and we can no longer sell used board games on Amazon. So that was about a third of our business. Still working through that. We're still kind of selling through that inventory, but those sales have slowed down significantly. And we're trying to shift everything to eBay. But obviously eBay is a different beast. And so we're kind of working through that. If I was still doing or listing things on Amazon, that listed number would probably be up by about 40 to 50 more than what it is. But what are you going to do? It's just the way things are sometimes. Sometimes you just have to step up and make a change and make it work, because sometimes things are out of your control. Couple sales to highlight. The first one is Warlock of Firetop Mountain. This was a vintage Steve Jackson game from 1986. Steve Jackson games are probably most known for their Munchkin games, which is a card game with hundreds of different editions. But we sold the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. It was like a fantasy board game. We sold that for $149.99 plus shipping. It was actually missing one little piece, but we still got $150 for it. I don't think anyone else was selling it at the time, and I had seen some comps for around that amount, so I figured I was pretty safe, even though it was missing a non-vital piece. I figured we'd still get the full amount, and we did, $149. The second one was an Angry Birds game. I've mentioned Angry Birds a few times in my videos. For anyone selling board games, it's definitely something you want to keep an eye out for. There are some Angry Birds that don't go for a lot, but then there are quite a few that go for really good money, and even the pieces sell for really good money. This one was a Knock on Wood game. Now, this was actually something I didn't realize until I had this version of it. The Angry Birds Knock on Wood I see that all the time. It came out in, I think, 2010. And like I said, we see it all the time. We used to sell it on Amazon for $30 to $40, but even that price started going down, and I was seeing them everywhere. They go for about 15 to 20 on eBay, so it's not that crazy of a game. I still pick them up when I see them cheap enough, but this one in particular, actually when I was listing it, I didn't realize that anything was different until I started taking my pictures. And then I realized I thought it was missing things, and I thought the pieces looked completely different. So I had to kind of take a step back and figure out what was going on and why this looked completely different. And it turns out they re-released it in 2013. And the re-released game in 2013 is actually extremely rare, which is probably why I've never come across it. Unfortunately, it was missing the instructions, so I couldn't sell it as complete. But even still, I think I put it up for $100, and I took an offer for $79.99. So not a bad deal, especially when I was not expecting to get nearly that much for it. But yeah, Angry Birds, like I've said it before, if you see them in the board game aisle, you definitely want to look them up. Some of those games go for crazy money. And then finally, the last order that I want to highlight is a 27 item game piece order. We sold 27 game pieces for a total of $50.91 plus shipping. I made a video yesterday about niching down into a category, and I talked about how this is kind of one of the benefits to niching down is you get multi-quantity orders. This one is actually not the most we've seen. I mean, we've seen game piece orders in the 80s, 90s. I don't know that we've ever had 100 piece or 100 item game piece order, but we've gotten close. And it's always crazy to me that people buy that many game pieces at once. I don't know what they're doing with them. But that is one of the benefits of niching down into a category is you get those kinds of sales. So yeah, so that's really all I got for today. It was a decent week. It was kind of a slow week. Sales were average, maybe a little above average by the end of the week. I really don't have much else to say. I'm hoping that this week is not starting off well. I don't know what's going on. eBay. It's crazy to me because we'll have like steady 2-3 weeks of $300, $400, $500, even up to $600 a day, and then randomly we'll have a $70 day, and impressions are like 0, and I don't know why all of a sudden there's no traffic to our listings. I don't know if they're tweaking things or what's going on. I'm listings on a steady basis, so it's not like I'm going days and days without listing. I might go 1 day without listing, but it's pretty consistent otherwise. So we're not off to a good start this week, but I'm hoping it picks up. We've got a lot of things to list right now. We're really trying to ramp up our game piece inventory, especially since the whole Amazon stuff has kind of put our board game inventory in a kind of a sticky situation where we have tons of backstock that we now have to put up on eBay. So we're really trying to step up the game piece part of our business. But that's all I got for today. Like, subscribe, check us out on Facebook, Books and Boards, and I'll see you tomorrow.